In this video, I want to run through the differences between a standard migration from CCH Portal to CCH OneClick and a migration with AAA enabled. So firstly, what is AAA? AAA stands for Authentication and Authorization. It provides an enhanced level of security at the point of login into CCH OneClick. It does this by providing optional multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is when a user is sent an additional code during the login process that they then enter into the login screen. You can also optionally set that the password of all OneClick users expires every X number of days. AAA also prevents users from reusing recently used passwords. Users can manage their own accounts, for instance if they've forgotten their password. On the webpage where you found this video, there are other videos relating to the portal migration process. All of those videos are still relevant and should be watched in conjunction with this video. In this video, I simply demonstrate the differences between a standard migration and a migration with AAA enabled. One important difference is that if you want to use AAA in your OneClick environment, this must be turned on by Wolters Kluwer before you start the migration process. Another difference is that many of the email templates have been replaced by AAA templates, and I will be showing you this in the video shortly. And then lastly, the process that the client follows to activate their accounts as a part of the migration is different, but I would still recommend that you watch the video entitled Portal Migration Demo, What the Client Sees, because most of that is still relevant. It is only the part that I'm going to show you in this video that is different. So let's move on to the demonstration. There are actually only three things I want to cover in this demonstration video. The first isn't actually a demonstration, it's just a reminder that if you do want to take advantage of AAA, this must be turned on by Wolters Kluwer in advance of you running your migration. To arrange this, please log a support ticket and we will contact you to discuss timing as to when you're planning to run your migration so that AAA is turned on in advance. Now, I have already installed CCH OneClick, I have had AAA turned on, and I am almost ready to run through the migration process. There's one last thing I need to do. If you've watched the other migration videos, you will know that one of the things that we should do in advance of the migration is come to File, Maintenance, OneClick, and go to Email Template. Any template that has AAA in front of it is a replacement for a template that is listed above, including this one, Convert Portal User to OneClick User. So you will see down here, AAA Convert Portal User to OneClick User. So that is the minimum template that we should modify before we start the migration. All the other AAA templates will also be used, so potentially we should modify those at the same time rather than leaving it to after the migration has run. Now if we take a look at this template, I'll just double click on it. The difference between this template and the standard template for standard migration is you actually have two links within the template. The first one is the link to AAA for the migration process. This is the link that the client will click on when they receive the migration email in order to activate their new account. The second link is the one that they will use in the future to log into OneClick after they've activated their account the first time. Now I'm aware that some practices have made the decision to remove the second line altogether from the migration email so as not to confuse the clients. The clients will then click on the first link. They'll activate their account. The next time they need to use OneClick is when they will receive an email notification saying that you have a message or whatever the case might be. Others will leave both links in there. It's entirely up to you what you want to do. Insofar as customization of these templates, as we discussed in the other videos, the customization may be just a case of adding your logo or adding a sign-off at the bottom of the email, customizing it to look like the email templates that you've been using in Portal. So let's assume that I've done that. I'm going to hit OK to just go out of there. So the next step is the migration itself. From your perspective as an accounting practice, the migration is exactly the same as it is for standard migration without AAA. So I won't include that in this demonstration video. Instead, I would refer you to watch the video entitled CCH Portal to OneClick Migration, What the Practice Sees. So I've now completed the migration process from the practice perspective, and now I'm going to pretend to be a client, Mr. Brian Blood. So what I'm going to do is open up my internet browser to access Brian Blood's email, As in the previous video, where I pretend to be multiple clients activating accounts after the migration, I'm using mailnator.com to access Brian Blood's email. His email address is bblood@mailnator.com. Let go, and I will see the migration email here. When I click on that, you can see it's the same email that we looked at when we looked at the email template a little while ago. One thing I didn't point out earlier is my domain for the migration was RM AAA. Your domain will be whatever it is in Portal at the moment. You may also decide that you don't want that particular part of the text in the email and you might delete it from the email template. As the client, I'm going to click on the link to complete my migration process. Rather than being taken to the screen that I showed you in the previous video when doing a migration without AAA, this time the client is taken to this URL, login.waltersclurecloud.com, and it's pre-populated with the information that came from Central. Brian can change his name if necessary. He can't change his email address because the email address is his username for logging into OneClick. A user's email address can only be changed in Central, and that will then populate up into the cloud database. So Brian is now ready to complete the migration process by creating his account. First step is to enter his password. If he clicks on the password field here, he's presented with some information that tells him about the password complexity requirements. He can click more information if required. Reading this information might help him decide on what his password should be. Click back. He then enters his password and then repeats it, and then scrolls down to the bottom. There's a code here that he needs to enter to confirm that he's a human being. Click continue, and then he receives a message on screen to say that he has been sent an email to complete his activation process. So let's return to his email. Click go, and here's the email. Again, the domain that I have used for my migration, RM AAA, would be replaced with your domain. The client clicks the email, reviews the email here. The sign off at the bottom here can also be customized if you advise us what you want that to say in advance of actually running the migration. The client then clicks on the Activate Now button, and at this stage he's then presented with a screen that will enable him to configure MFA, multi-factor authentication. One of the options I mentioned at the start of this video is that MFA can be either set to be mandatory at a practice level or left to be optional, in which case the client can then decide whether or not they want to activate MFA. Let's assume that it is either mandatory or that the client has decided they want to activate MFA, and we'll click on the configure button to actually configure the MFA option. So there are three options for multi-factor authentication. We can either use an authentication application. If I click on more information, it will give me some information about that. And some examples of different authentication applications are Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. That opened in a new tab. I'll go back to this tab here. So as I said, I can either use an authentication app, I could use SMS, mobile text messaging, or email, or I can use two or three of those options. And if I do use multiple options, I'll then be prompted in the future to decide which option I want every time I go to log on. So today I'm going to use email. So I'll click on configure, and I'll type in the email address that I want to use for my MFA. Now this doesn't have to be the same email address as the logon for OneClick. Potentially I might want to use a different email address for receiving my MFA code than I use for my logon username. In this case it's going to be the same. Hit next. Regardless of what option I choose, I'm now going to be sent a code to confirm that what I've just entered is actually correct. So having used email, I'm going to go back to my email and get my code. And here's my account verification email. Click on that. What I'm going to do is click on that, copy that code and put it into here. Hit next. And here I'm provided with this screen here for my recovery codes. I'm going to discuss that in a separate AAA demonstration video. So we'll ignore that for the moment and just click next. This screen here asks whether I want to always be prompted for my MFA code, and I'm going to say I always want to, and click finish. And now to log into OneClick I need to enter my MFA code again. I've just been sent a new MFA code to my email. So I'll go back to my email and click Go. And this email here is just confirmation that I've enabled multi-factor authentication. Let's have a quick look at that. Fairly straightforward. And if I go back to my inbox, this is my additional MFA authentication. Click on that, copy that and paste it into there, and then click Continue. And now I'm logged into CCH OneClick for the first time and presented with a tutorial that is shown the first time a user logs into CCH OneClick. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we've recorded a number of other videos to help you through the OneClick migration process. All of these videos can be found on the same web page that you found this video on. As well as the migration videos, if you haven't already watched it, there is another short video which is a demonstration of CCH OneClick with AAA activated. Thank you for watching this demonstration video.